do the flag stand. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we gather here today as members of this community and school, united in our shared desire to serve and support one another. As we begin this meeting, we ask for your guidance and wisdom to help us make the decisions that will benefit the students of this community we serve. We pray for a spirit of openness and understanding, that we may listen to each other with respect and work together in harmony. May we be mindful of the needs of all members of our community, especially those who are most vulnerable or in need. Lord, thank you for these retirees. Thank you for the service that they've given us in this community. Thank you for the number of students' lives that they all touched and impacted on a daily basis. Grant us now the courage to speak truthfully and act justly, and extend compassion and kindness and grace to those around us. May your presence be felt in our midst, guiding us all in what we do. We offer this prayer in your name. Amen.
Here. Mr. Ryder.
Here.
Mrs. Rowland. Present. Mrs. Troop. Here. Mrs. Simmons. Here. All right, we're going to start off tonight with a very special celebration of our presentation to retiring Ponca City Public School employees, and we know so many of you.
Well, welcome. It is my favorite board meeting of the year, not because we're losing our retirees, but we have a lot of fun. So, we do have 18 staff members retiring. Some are here and some are not. Some had other obligations. But first, we are going to recognize Miss Elizabeth Atkins. So, come on in. And Mr. Leeming, are you going to present their clock and stand there while they take their story? All right, so Mrs. Adkins, you really have a nice story. So Mrs. Adkins was led to teaching late in her career. After a successful stint in the healthcare industry, Ms. Atkins felt she had something to give the children of this community, and she put her heart and soul into everything that she did for our students. It is one thing to be able to teach concepts effectively, but where Ms. Atkins stood out was that she loved her students and cared for each one of them individually. Ms. Atkins was always interested in self-improvement, and this centered around what she could do better to reach her students. We suspect she has lost plenty of sleep the last 3 years worrying about those kids. This kind of love cannot be taught. It is inherent in this wonderful person that she is. Thank you for your service, Ms. Atkins. Oh, she's 3 years teaching science at Poe High. So. Next, we have Judith Amberger. Is Judith here?
No.
Okay, I don't think Judith is here tonight, but I do want to tell you she has served 24 years with Ponca City Public School in C&P, all at Poe High. Am I right, Jeff?
Yes.
All those years were all at Poe High. Next, we have Ms. Sue Bernard, and I don't see Sue here either. So she has been with us for 6 years teaching tech ed at West Middle School, plus she has 14 years of in and out-of-state service for a total of 20 years in the profession. All right, next we have Ms. Leota Bunny. Well, I'm just really sad we don't have all these people here. Ms. Leota Bunny is our daycare worker, but before that, she was served 2 years in CMP at Liberty and then returned to PCPS a few later to serve as the daycare at our Teen Pet program. She's been there for 10 years, so for a total of 12 years of service to PCPS. Okay, the next one's here, and she needs to get ready. It is Miss Pearl Canaday. Pearl, come on. Okay, Pearl has 25 years of service with PCPS as a custodian at several sites. She's been at East, she's been at West, she's been at Liberty, and she ended up at Woodlands where she served as lead custodian for 10 years. Now, Pearl, We aren't going to tell everyone how old you are, unless you want to, but I'm not going to. But one of our retired teachers, okay, she's retired, and she's come back, and she's been here about 10 years, so that ought to tell you something, said that you two are the same age. And she said the way that lady gets around is amazing. She's a powerhouse in one tiny little body. I'm gonna miss her so much. I want to be her when I grow up. Now, listen, Pearl, I got more emails from any other retiree. You had the most, so I'm kind of paraphrase. So here's some things your staff loves about you. She's always willing to help. It could be the smallest thing, like getting duct tape to repair a student's pair of shoes, or big things, like when the pipes burst this year. She helped to protect things and move them around our room several times to keep them dry. Now, Pearl's clock-in time is 6 a.m. We're not going to tell HR, but in her opinion, if she's late if she arrives later than 5:15 a.m. So, many of your colleagues said you have a hysterical sense of humor and a sassy little attitude, and you light up the room whenever you walk in. Now, Pearl has many successful days, but her most successful day is when she has no throw-up to clean up. She never complains about anything she's asked to do, but she knows when she's called over the intercom, it's going to be some unknown task, and she makes a funny little growling noise. How's that going, Pearl? She can't do it, okay. I'm guessing you think that someone must have thrown up is the reason you growled. Okay, well, this probably isn't a good sentence right after cleaning up throw up, but not only will the staff miss you, they will miss those yummy deviled eggs she loves. Finally, Mr. Williams gives Pearl the same piece of advice every Friday, but he told me that I'm going to have to ask you what it is. Will you share with us, Pearl?
Stay out of jail.
Well, you've done a good job with that, Pearl. Good job. We appreciate your service. Next, we have Miss Lori Cox. Lori is completing her 10th year with PCPS, serving as principal at Garfield, and is the current principal at Liberty. Plus, she has years of service at both Guthrie Public Schools and Skytook Public Schools. Her total service as an Oklahoma educator is 31 years. Now, several people sent information about Lori, and here's what stands out. She's an excellent teacher first and foremost, and many of our staff members say they are a better teacher because of Lori's exceptional instructional leadership. And Lori, great teachers make great leaders. And I will have to tell you, she loves those kids selflessly. In fact, she calls them her babies. She sets high expectations for them and expects them to follow these expectations. However, they know she believes in them and encourages them, and that has caused her students to achieve more. So I'll have to tell this story. So it was a couple of months ago, one day, Lori gave me a call about an issue, and she was concerned about the safety of one of her students. So I called she called our SROs, and they weren't available. And so I called the police, our police contact, and they were shorthanded and said they're going to try to get an officer to the school before the end of the day. When I called Lori to give her that information, she said, well, if those cops don't make it here before school's out, there is no way I'm sending that baby home. The cops can just haul me to jail. Well, I knew she meant it, so I called another officer who always helps us and told him the issue and said, hey, this principle means business. Get there before school's out, or you're going to have to haul us both to jail. And don't let her go to jail by herself. Now, I have to tell you, the officer made it, and because of Lori's diligence, she rescued that baby, and the officer made an arrest. So isn't that just a wonderful story? Oh, Lori, you traveled with a big purple suitcase that you called the Purple Cow. Heard about that. Once when you were traveling back from a PD trip, Terry was gonna take her home from transportation. Well, Terry used to have this little Camaro. The purple cow wouldn't fit in the trunk, wouldn't fit in the back, so the purple cow had to ride in the passenger seat and Lori had to ride in the back. Now, I will have to tell you, Lori is one of those people that you do not have to wonder what she's thinking, because she's going to tell you. And I do believe that she was not too happy with me when I moved her from Garfield to Liberty. Well, actually, I asked her and said, oh, it's going to happen. So we needed a strong leader over at Liberty. And she said, I will do it because I'm a team player. And she got there, and I believe I was redeemed because she loves her Liberty babies and her Liberty teachers. So Lori stepped in when we needed her most. She guided us through COVID, advocated for us through the good times and bad, and has always loved our Liberty families. We'll miss her at Liberty and wish her all the best as she moves into her new position, serving other schools across our great state of Oklahoma. Lori, thanks for all your service. We went to high school together. We didn't graduate together from Big Stigler, America, but she graduated from Lindsay, but we did go to school together. So that means we're the same age. Thanks, Lori, for your service.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Stephen Keller. Stephen has 27 years as an Oklahoma special education teacher. And guess what? All of these years have been with PCPS. He has served at Garfield, at Roosevelt, the alternative school when it was still housed at the pre-K center, and he's been at East for the last 13 years. Here's what your colleagues have to say. Steve works with challenging students and is instrumental in their success. Steve was instrumental in my nephew's academic success. Because of his patience and expertise, my nephew was able to achieve his first academic goal, a high school diploma. Steve is directly responsible for so many of our students who likely would have dropped out of school if he had not been a part of their lives. A fellow special ed teacher said, I really can't accept that Steve is retiring. He has been there since I started. Matter of fact, he was the one that had me take the special education test. You know what I'm talking about too. There are so many things that can be said. He has a tendency to make me laugh. There is so much that I just don't have the words to even express all that we have experienced over the years. Sometimes our kiddos are so unique that all we can do is smile and laugh. Another employee said, I enjoyed being a fly on the wall on a PD trip to Bentonville, Arkansas this last summer. Steve and Mike Seals are both Poe High graduates, so there we are, we have a Wildcat here. And this person, it was Keith, he was driving and they were sitting in the back talking for 3 hours about all their high school days. It was fun just to hear them enjoy reliving the good old days of Ponca City Public Schools. And then finally, another employee said, Mr. Keller makes EMS feel like family. When I first started working there, I found out Mr. Keller was my cousin. Every time we see each other, we say, how's it going, cuz? I'm gonna miss that. And Stephen, we're gonna miss you, and you know I'm trying to talk you into coming back part-time. We appreciate your service. Next, we have Sherry Land, and she was our special education administrative secretary, and then she moved away. She was it for 7 years, and then she moved away and came back and served for 10 more years. So she has a total of 17 years experience as the special education secretary. She actually retired in September of 2022, and she could not make it tonight. Another one of our retirees is a longtime teacher, math teacher and coach at Poe High, and that is Brad Larimer. He has 38 years of experience. All of these are with Ponca City Public Schools except for 3. He took a turn and went to Newkirk, but once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat, so he returned. So he's been a math teacher at Poe High, East Middle School, and has coached football, basketball, and tennis. So we'll wish Brad well as well. Luann O'Neill. Is Luann here tonight? I didn't see her at the reception. She has had 16 years of service with PCPS, serving as a teacher's assistant at Lincoln, Trout, and retiring from East Middle School. And she was with Mr. Keller in
Yes.
Mr. Keller's class. Next, we have Cheryl Sitterly, and Cheryl is with us tonight. Has been a CMP manager, but I really didn't know this till I was looking at your card. You were 12 years as a secretary at Poe High and West Middle School. Then she joined the CMP team and was there 32 years, 44 years service. And there's a story I have here that I didn't even know until Jeff shared it with me. So for many years, Cheryl held the distinguished honor of Queen of Support Staff for her tenure in the district. Now, we do that for our support staff and our certified staff. Whoever has the most years gets to wear a boa, and we play the fight song for them. So she has been the Queen of Support Staff until she retired. But what many aren't aware of is the fact that Cheryl was almost deported by immigration for not being an American citizen. Cheryl was born on American military base in Canada and she had assumed that her mother completed the paperwork for dual citizenship. But when she applied for a passport in the early 2000s, she was notified that she was not a U.S. citizen, which triggered the deportation process, which was unknown at the time to Cheryl. Now, if you know our CMP staff, they are pranksters and jokesters. So the CMP staff made light of the discovery and often teased Cheryl by playing "Oh Canada" on a regular basis. And on one occasion, Jeff arranged for a white van to pull up front to pick her up. Little did the staff know that Cheryl would soon receive a real letter of deportation, and things drastically changed. So instead of kidding and poking fun, Jeff made a call to Congressman Lucas, and his office expedited citizenship, and Cheryl soon became an American citizen. CMP held a celebration for her after she became an American citizen, and they all spoke Canadian at her celebration. There are so many other great stories regarding Cheryl and her dedication to Ponca City Schools in a lifetime of being a Wildcat. She was a gem for our program, and her service to the students over 40 plus years is greatly appreciated. Thanks so much, Cheryl. Next we have Ms. Cheryl Snyder. She has 24 years total teaching experience. She taught several grade levels at Liberty, Woodlands, and Roosevelt, and has served as the instructional coach at Roosevelt for the last 7 years. Cheryl Snyder is the most perfect embodiment of what Roosevelt in Great Expectations strives to be. She is the most genuine, sincere, kind-hearted person I have ever met. Every student adores her and will work to please her. Even our toughest customers are calmed in her presence and give her the utmost respect. We have all learned so much from her and will miss her grounding presence at Roosevelt. Just a little bit of trivia, Cheryl Snyder is the only Roosevelt employee to ever lock herself in the vestibule. I've done it too, Cheryl. This one right down here. Cheryl is an absolute model of love and leadership. She has such a big heart, an incredibly strong work ethic, and has shown an inordinate amount of grace as she has taken care of Wildcat students and staff at schools across our district. I can't count the conversations we've had over the years, and I surely can't explain how much it meant to have such a like-minded friend just a call away. Although we will all feel her absence, we'll all know that we're a little better for having had her in our lives at PCPS. And finally, she's a brilliant educator who works regularly and seeks new ways to support students. She is as lovely as can be, but when she was firm, you knew the response better be, "Yes, ma'am." As lovely as she is, don't let that warm exterior fool you. She is just as adept at driving a skid loader or working from the business end of a shovel as she is teaching students or adults. Tony, don't you need a little bit of extra maintenance help? Okay. She loves all kids regardless of their unique personal circumstances. Cheryl is an investor in peers, colleagues, students, and parents. She has the most loving and sincere heart and absolutely dedicated her life to the community, especially the kids. Thanks for your service, Cheryl. Next, we have Ms. Rebecca Stevenson, Becky, as we call her. She has 26 years of Oklahoma teaching experience and 3 years of out-of-state for a total of 29 years. With PCPS, she taught at Washington Elementary when it was still an elementary school, not when it was the pre-K center, and at Roosevelt. She is an early childhood educator and has taught both pre-K and K. So your teaching partner said she is truly the best teaching partner around. I cannot put into words just how much she has helped me in and out of the classroom. That same caring nature is what she shows to her students and colleagues daily. She always has a smile on her face. She is always there to help wherever there is a need. Becky is an incredible woman who has a heart for kids and an insatiable appetite to see students succeed. She makes learning real for kids, focusing heavily on student relationships and specific family needs. The next person said, "Oh, Becky, she is a blessing. The parents, past, present, and future, are a testament to how great she is. They all sing her praises and ask for her to stay just one more year for their baby." And I guess we could talk you into it?
I just asked her to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we all along the same lines. She attends GDE trainings every summer and has the best celebrations. Ask her to do her donkey kick. Hold the block out.
I'm not going to do it.
You all.
Now that Becky is leaving, I do think Roosevelt may need to invest in a digital sign. PTA might need to do some fundraising. For years, she has been the automated marquee of Roosevelt, costing significantly less than a digital sign, making sure that parents knew of upcoming events which their kids could be or would be participating in. Becky, I'll miss you at school, but I'll see you at city events.
That's exactly right.
Thanks for your service. We have Edmunda Taylor, but Edmunda could not be here today. We call her Munda. 32 years in the CMP program. And she has been at East and has been at Pohigh since 1999. We do have Miss Karen Taylor with us. She has 25 years service, all with PCPS and all at Union Elementary. I think you're our only retiree that's been at the same school all your years of experience with PCPS. So Karen is one of the sweetest teachers I know. She made me feel very welcome as a new teacher here at Union. I will miss her very much and wish her a very happy retirement. Next teacher said, "When I first started at Union 20 plus years ago, I was young and inexperienced. Karen was one of the first to reach out and help mentor me. Over the years, she has moved from being a mentor to being a very close friend. We have shared tears of joy, sadness, triumphs, and failures. Karen has always been there to lift me up with a funny comment or a quick sarcastic comment. I will truly miss seeing her at Union after this year." Another teacher said, and I happen to know this is true, "Karen has a special place in her heart for the kids who need the most love. We will greatly miss her sense of humor too." Karen Taylor always has a well-managed classroom. She comes to all meetings prepared and ready to go, and I know she will enjoy retirement and more time with her grandchildren. She will be missed, but we're happy for the next chapter in her life. And I will have to tell you, when I was at Union, I worked with Karen as an instructional coach and as the principal at Union, and her classroom is like a family. So most of us grew up with parents that said, if you get in trouble at school, there's going to be more trouble at home. Well, when Karen ever had a substitute, her students were perfect. They were so well behaved. One day I told her I'd never seen a class that was so well behaved for a substitute. And her response was, "I tell them if they cause trouble for the sub, there's going to be bigger trouble in class the next day." Consequently, we can always get a sub for Karen's classroom. So, Karen, we need you to come back and sub upon retirement. We certainly appreciate your service. have Miss Sally Tubbs. She has 24 years working as the job coach at Poe High, and then she became the career exploration coordinator at Poe High. During her time at Ponca City High School, Sally Tubbs has set a new standard for the career exploration transition school to work program at Poe High. Under Sally's guidance, this somewhat hidden gem of a class instills job skills and work ethics in students. Integrity, sense of responsibility, accountability, and discipline are just a few of the qualities fostered thanks to Sally's direction. To see her students succeed is her main goal. She leaves a legacy of high expectations and knowledge, and her experience, her expertise of all things DRS will definitely be missed. So one of your staff members said, "I will miss her breaking out into song and show tunes." Her goofy jokes, her infectious laugh, and her bringing in her wonderful homemade lunches and snacks for the job coaches. I thought this was really sweet. I cannot imagine what next year will look like, but I will sure do my best to make her proud of the career exploration class. And then finally, there are so many things to share about Sally Tubbs, but I'm going to try and narrow it down to a couple of the highlights. When students enter their first couple of weeks of career explorations, there are generally a few tears and lots of grumbles. It is no secret that Sally runs a tight ship and is unfazed by the variety of creative excuses often shared as to why a student is late, why they didn't sign their timesheet, or how they lost their student ID for the third time. Sally sets the bar high and has expectations for her students regardless of their disability. What is amazing is after a week or two, these young students begin to rise to those expectations. They transform from dependent youth to independent young adults in front of her eyes. Through her teachings, these students get to firsthand learn, practice, and experience what it means to be responsible for their actions and encounters. Sally doesn't beat around the bush or coat it with sugar, but uses a strong, loving, straightforward method to help guide those students toward their best self. I have watched as she completes mountains of paperwork with such ease and organization. I've seen her take her own money to stock the food pantry with preferred items, and I've seen her change the lives of some of our most stubborn and shut down students. To those students in our classroom, she has been nothing short of a hero. Ponca City Public Schools are better because of Sally Tubbs, and her absence will be some very hard shoes to fill. Thank you for your service, Sally. We have Miss Kelly Webb, 26 years as a teacher. 3 are out of state and 23 are in Oklahoma.
I don't think so.
Okay. Well,
35 years here.
35 years here. Well, some of those you were a TA, right? Okay, I'll double check that. Okay, 35 years here. Before she got hired, you did not serve as a TA at Liberty? Okay, they looked that stuff up for me. Okay, well, I'll work on that. Okay, so she has taught at Liberty, Trout, and is a reading interventionist at Liberty and an instructional coach at Garfield. She is returning part-time as the instructional coach at Garfield, so we are blessed to have her stay with us. One teacher said, "I'm forever thankful that I got to work with Kelly Webb. You can't be around her without smiling and laughing. She has a gift of taking young teachers under her wing and helping them succeed. I'm grateful I am one of those young teachers. She was the glue that kept us together on the hard days and the laugh you needed to get through a long day. Kelly Webb students and coworkers were truly blessed." Another teacher said, "I had the privilege of meeting Kelly 29 years ago when I started student teaching at Trout. From the moment we met, we became fast friends. There are so many stories I could share about our years together, some appropriate, some not so much, so I will stick with a few highlights. Kelly is a ray of sunlight. She is giving, kind, and empowering. She is the first to share with others and the first to lend help when needed. She is my teaching person, the one I share celebrations and struggles with, the one I seek advice from, and the only teacher I will allow to say, my bad, when somebody doesn't turn something in on time. Apparently that's an inside joke. So Kelly's a ray of sunshine wherever she goes. Every single time she arrives to pick up my first grade students, she is absolutely delighted to see them. I am quite sure that she makes every group feel like they are her favorites. We will definitely miss her sweet spirit and contagious smiles at Liberty next year. And I can just see her. I'm so glad to see you. You know, it's a research fact that kids will not learn from you unless they have a positive relationship with you. Kelly is that teacher that the kids love and adore, and they will do anything to please her, and they learn without even knowing it. Kelly makes teaching look easy because she is a natural. Not only do her kids love her, but so do her parents and her colleagues. She has lots of friends across the district because if you have not met Kelly, she never meets a stranger and people instantly becomes fast friends with her. And then one final quote, Kelly loves PCPS and is a huge ambassador for us. Her kids went to PCPS, and every time I personally see her in a building, she is complimenting a teacher, she's complimenting a student. It might not even be from that school. Kelly, PCPS is so blessed you are returning part-time, and I am blessed to call you my own personal friend. Congratulations. We have one more retiree. I haven't okayed the words for this.
No, she hasn't. So I get to honor Shelley, and that's a dangerous thing when I get a microphone. So I promise it won't be, I mean, she kind of prefaced my job and threatened me under penalty of death, but she's only the superintendent for about 4 more weeks. So.
And this is my last board meeting. I haven't mentioned that.
This is her last board meeting. This is our superintendent's last board meeting. Probably one of the most selfless, caring, giving leaders that this school district has ever had. She started in 1995 at Roosevelt and then quickly transitioned over to Union as the instructional coach and then was plucked up to be the school principal there. A lot of my stories come from your principal days. About that time when you were principal, I was assistant principal at West, and I kept hearing, we'd come to the office and you'd hear all these great things that were happening at Union. One things I wanted to ask you about, Shelley, in front of everybody was, I did not know you were such a karaoke star. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights by Meatloaf? That was Sandy. So I think that's what we're going to do on your last day.
Okay,
Last day in the
I know all
office.
the words.
One of the stories that I got was a couple of kindergartners came into the office. Two kindergarten boys, one clearly in pain, holding himself. Shelley's principal then, she leans down and said, "Poor guy, did you get kicked in the privates?" And the hurt kindergartner nodded, and when Shelley turned to the other kid and said, "Why did you kick him in the privates?" He said, "I didn't kick him in the privates, I kicked him in the bleep." One of the great things about working in central office is we have a hard, solid surface floor. So if you know Shelley, she's always a high heels lady. So I can always tell when she's coming across the hall. So I put up my crayons and my color pages when I know Shelley's coming. But she's always worn high heels. And at Union Elementary, one of the things that if we had an obstinate child or teacher needed some extra help in the classroom, they would buzz the office, and then you'd hear Shelley clacking down the halls, down to the classroom, and she'd say, "Do you want to come to the office with me?" And if that kid said no, she would lean down and say, "Don't make me take off these heels."
That's true, it works.
And that kid would get up and go to the office. I wish I had that. Another thing, if you can imagine our superintendent, who's always dressed to the nines in outstanding fashion, on CRT kickoffs, which are our state testing. Imagine our superintendent in full motorcycle regalia, all the leather, all the and this was not Operation Approve, I'm certain of it, but would drive in on CRT kickoff on a Harley Davidson to fire up all the students into the gym. I don't know how you got that by Brett Smith, but that was incredible.
Did we ask? I think that's one of those things you just beg forgiveness. forgiveness.
I do know this, and I think Don and Judy and, well, you might have been on the board at that time, was when this school board and Dr. Pennington decided they needed someone in school improvement and data. And they asked Shelley, I think kind of like the Lori Cox story, told Shelley that she was going to be taken
In the middle of the year.
from Union in November up to central office to help our schools and new principals work on school improvement and data. That staff nearly revolted on the board. I think every board member got angry phone calls, tears, crying, wailing, and gnashing of teeth from those teachers to each of those board members. And one of the stories was, and God rest his soul, Mr. Kincaid at the time said, relax. She has made such an impact at Union Elementary, it would be a shame that she can't make that impact on each of the children that come to Ponca City Schools. And she has. She has been an outstanding. I'm really blessed to have had the opportunity to work with Shelley. Those are the few stories I'm going to share tonight. But I know you told me not to do anything tonight, but I have one more thing. Are you nervous?
I need to say, okay, as many events as I go to, I was a little worried about having to start paying.
On yours, you can apply for events. We punch yours. You can apply for events. Times are tough in the public school system. Everyone else, you get lifetime. We're going to punch yours on that day. But this is your last board meeting,
Yes,
and you
yes.
told me not to do anything wild or crazy. So I'm just going to get this puppy out. Now, we wanted to get you flowers and stuff.
That was really sweet. Did I mention it's my last board meeting? I love our board members and I love the board meetings, but sometimes just not preparing. How's that? That looks
We've
perfect.
done the individual photos, and Chrissy is going to meet with all of the retirees in the West Conference Room to take a group photo. And thank you all for coming tonight with the family members. Unless you guys want to stay for the business part of the meeting, we do have regular education.
Okay, I'm gonna take a quick picture.
And you're welcome to stay for the whole board meeting, but you can meet down
No, that's how it works, because it forces the football. I don't yet, I mean, typically.
And Liz would stand there again. Look for the Canadian flag. Until we run into this, like, real serious. I wouldn't have had the band if I was serious. Hard time getting the white bands. What we got?
Actually, go ahead and move forward with the next part of the meeting, which is the presentation of the Employee of the Month and Friend of Education Awards. And first up, we have our Certified Employee of the Month, who, oh wait, we can't do him yet.
He's retired, so we need to go out of order.
Okay, so we're going to go out of order. I was gonna say, do I need to get a motion on that? Okay, Support Employee of the Month is Janae Stevens, Teacher Assistant at Woodward.
Woodlands Elementary School is proud to honor Janae Stevens as the Support Employee of the Month for May 2023. Janae is a vital player on the Woodlands staff. This is Ms. Stevens' 7th year at Woodlands. She has served as a Title I assistant and class size assistant. She is willing to step in and help in any area where she is needed. She enjoys working with her first grade students this year and helping them succeed. She serves in many areas of the school throughout her regular day, including bus duty, her favorite, lunch duty, her second favorite, covering classes, and helping in the office as needed. Janae is creative and also often asks permission to take on special projects. She takes pride in her work and has any costume piece she might need for the next school dress-up theme day. Woodlands could not do all the things we do without amazing people like Ms. Stevens. She approaches every day with a positive attitude and a smile for everyone. Thank you, Ms. Stevens, for making a difference. Congratulations on your selection as the May 2023 Support Employee of the Month for Ponca City Public Schools.
And next, our friend, my personal friend and PCPS, friend of education, Luther Moore, volunteer for the Instrumental Music Parents Association.
All right, it is my honor to recognize Mr. Luther Moore as the May recipient of the Friend of Education Award. Mr. Moore has volunteered his time and talent in many ways, including serving in the Instrumental Music Parents Association as the concession stand manager and treasurer. Mr. Moore has been involved in other parent organizations, including Quarterback Club, but most impressively, he has continued to serve our district even after his own children have graduated. Mr. Moore's gracious gift of his time and talent is much appreciated. Community members like Mr. Moore enable us to give as much as possible to our students. Members like Mr. Moore are the difference makers that allow us to strive for greatness. Thank you, Mr. Moore. And I know they're going to miss you in that concession stand.
An inspiration for sure. Okay, and now our certified employee of the month is Mr. Steve Keller, sped teacher at East Middle School.
Yes, it's Mr. Keller show today.
Congratulations, Mr. Keller. We're excited to be able to present this to him. As he's retiring as well, you'll definitely be missed at our site, not hindered. So thank you. As certified staff member of the month, Mr. Keller works with the patience of a saint, a mark of his true professionalism. Regardless of how difficult a problem may pose, Mr. Keller doesn't become frustrated or discouraged in any way. Rather, he is always positive and uplifting, continuously making the effort to encourage the students to have a positive educational experience every day, in spite of any academic, social, or emotional challenges. He is highly respected by the administration and staff, but he is most respected by his students. Students who were with him years ago still today express their appreciation for his guidance and hard work in a very difficult position. Mr. Keller is a teacher's teacher. He sets an example for all of us to aspire to under many challenging conditions. So congratulations, Mr. Keller.
So we thank all of our recipients tonight. If you could please go to the hallway and
Excuse me, if it pleases the chair, there's one more order.
It's not on there, but.
It is not, it's an error on the agenda.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah,
All right.
it's hard to surprise people. Our committee thought it only appropriate that an additional award, I'm going to cry before I even start, to go to Shelley Garrett.
I told you guys not to do anything.
Well, that was for the
See
recruiter.
how they mind?
Beg forgiveness.
That was
Yeah, beg forgiveness, you don't ask, beg forgiveness.
So I had some help writing this. I had some people that have worked with you throughout your career help me. So Shelley began her career with PCPS 28 years ago, and teachers who had the opportunity to work alongside you and observe you teaching in that classroom report that you captivated your learners and cultivated an environment that encouraged and supported all of your students. You made the environment one in which, even though they were already a teacher, they too wished that they could be a student in your room. Those who know you well have watched you in awe as you've grown professionally in our district. You've been a teacher, an instructional coach, a principal, the director of school improvement and data, HR director, and finally superintendent. You have given 24/7 to this district, and you do it because you care. You care deeply for all of the students as well as the employees of PCPS. Many employees have taken chances to grow in this profession because of you and your encouragement. The key to this is the relationships you build. You truly have a gift of making each and every individual feel special and supported. Ponca City Public Schools is a better place because of your leadership and guidance, but most of all because of your belief in all of us and your vision of what you knew this district could be. It is our honor to award you the Certified Employee of the Month from
Okay, my friends know that I am not a crier, but once I start, it's all over. My husband just got us to pieces, so we've got to stop so we can get through this. That legislative update, you can't slog through that.
Thank you all for coming out to support the.
This Eric, that update might make you sob though.
Yeah, I know, you are right, Zach. Thank you for coming, thank you all for coming.
All right, so we'll move on to item number 4, superintendent's report with the digital school.
Okay, now we've got through all the fun stuff, so I'm gonna be really, really quick. April 22nd marked another deadline passed for bills to remain active at the legislature. So they had to have passed the opposite chamber. Now, they had to pass the opposite chamber to remain alive. However, at the Capitol, bills are only dead when the session is officially over or if the bill comes up for a vote and fails to pass. So a lot of bills weren't even heard. There's a chance they could come up in budget committees later on, and the next deadline is sign die, the last Friday in May, May 26, 2023. It's our graduation day. Originally, we were tracking over 450 Common Ed bills, and now we're down to 53. So I'm going to give you a timeline on the education plan, and I'm going to try to be brief here. So last month, I shared the House and the Senate education plan, and neither chamber would agree to the other chamber's plan. In the meantime, the governor came up with his own plan. And then on Thursday, April 27th, the House sided with the governor's plan. Then the Senate changed their plan because they couldn't agree to the governor's plan. And the whole issue between the two plans is the House wants to have a student fund that is outside the formula. And the top 42 schools are capped at $2 million. The Senate wants all the money to run through the formula so that it's equitable for all students. When the House sided with the governor and the Senate came up with their own plan, Governor Stitt vetoed 20 bills promptly. And basically, I'm not going to read what he said, but he basically said until Oklahomans get a tax cut, teachers get a pay raise, and parents get tax credits, he is going to veto all unrelated Senate bills, and he did. So, boom, vetoed 20 bills. Well, the Senate responded by unanimously voting to deny 2 of his cabinet members. And it's the cabinet of the Secretary of Mental Health, Health and Mental Health, and the Secretary of Commerce. And these are both members of the governor's cabinet. So boom, they unanimously decided not to appoint them. Well, after he said that he was not going to sign any Senate bills after his cabinet members were not appointed, he did the next day sign 18 Senate bills. So then, on May the 2nd, the House of Representatives approved the school choice tax credit bill with a vote of 61 to 31. And they stopped short of sending it to the governor because they wanted to use that as leverage over negotiations with funding their portion of the plan that would support rural schools more. And a lot of our House of Representatives do come from rural areas. So the House insisted that rural Oklahoma has to make up for the additional funding support because there are really no private schools in the rural areas. So the House wanted them to have money. And the ranges per weighted ADM of a district are anywhere from $36.10 to $441.50 per student, and it would be allocated to schools off the formula too. And if a school is off the formula, their local revenue their chargeables are not as great as what they would receive from the state. So like Frontier is off the formula. A lot of our schools that have the big wind farms are off the formula. So they get more local revenue than they would in state aid. And that's what people tout about the state aid funding formula, that it is an equitable formula. So the Senate, though, is steadfast in their position that funding must flow through the formula for equity for all students. In fact, they question the constitutionality of not funding students equally. Pro Tem Tree called for a public meeting with the governor and Speaker McCall on Thursday, May the 4th at 2 o'clock, but we heard they declined, but then we heard that they declined because they had conflicts with their schedule. Got a text from Senator Coleman today that there was a meeting between the governor, the Pro Tem, and Speaker McCall today at 2 o'clock. And when I posted this, when I loaded this PowerPoint on the computer, there was no update. But I heard from Senator Coleman at probably 4:50, and he said they were still meeting at 4:50. And then in the retirement set reception, he sent me a text and said it's hit the media that they have hired a well-respected judge to mediate. So he is looking forward to a caucus meeting with leaders, but there has not been one called. And he's really good about keeping us updated, so I will keep you updated.
They just called the caucus meeting at 8:30 in the morning.
All right, see, they just called the caucus meeting at 8:30 in the morning, so we should know more in the morning. Well, as you can imagine, it's tense at the Capitol, as both chambers continue to be in conflict on the funding portion, and that's the big conflict. And board members, you can see this up closely. The House plan didn't change. It was their original plan. I'm not going to go through it, but money, the student fund is outside the formula. The teacher raise is $2,500 across the board. Then they were adding $50 million to Red Bud and $300 million for the student fund. Then the governor, I don't even have the Senate's first plan up there. The governor modified the plan, but basically the Senate's plan had all money running through the formula. They had a tax credit. Their original proposed tiered raise for teachers was $3,000 to $6,000. They changed that to $4,000 to $8,000, and a new one-time $3,000 stipend would go to all full-time employees returning the following school year. Part-time would receive a prorated amount, and this would include all support staff too. So a one-time bonus, and stipends are not reoccurring, like a raise is reoccurring. So with their new increase, there would be a $700 million investment the first year, and then a continuing $500 million investment after that, because the stipend would cost $200 million for the one-time stipend. Now, the governor kind of tried to split the difference. He added some money to the formula for the teacher pay raise, and he reduced the Senate's original proposal for raises from $3,000 to $2,000 to $5,000. So a little bit of change there in the pay raise, no additional funds in Red Bud, but he does agree with the Oklahoma Student Fund distributed on a weighted ADM with a cap at $2 million per school. And Ponca City would fall under that cap, 42 schools would. So it was a $600 million new investment. So he was trying to split the difference. It's kind of, the big fight is through the formula or outside the formula. So that's where we are right as of this 10 seconds, and maybe we'll learn more. Now, the tax credit bill did pass. Senate passed it, House passed it, but House is holding it. And there you can see what it will be. So if a family makes less than $75,000, their tax credit amount per student would be $7,500. I won't read all that to you, but you can see that the more income the more AGI that a family has, the less the tax credit is. They are going to put preference for tax credits for families who make $150,000 and less. This does include a $1,000 homeschool tax credit, and it does have a cap. In 2024, the private school cap would be $150 million. There's no cap on the homeschool. 2025, a $200 million cap for private, 5 on homeschool, and beyond a $250 million cap and 5 for homeschool. So, any questions about that? We don't know where we are. Today is the 8th. There are 14 days left in this session. And today I was reading some news that there are tons of bills that haven't even been heard yet because the education plan has been such a big deal. And it's not just education bills, it's bills for municipalities, for healthcare, you name it. So tonight I'm going to share just the bills that have been signed into law by the governor at this point. And then Adam can share the rest of the laws with you in June. So House Bill 1029 requires the Office of Federal Programs to adopt a standard form for identifying our homeless students. Did you know that, Barbara? So there's a form coming that's going to be standard, and we will report our results to the SDE by June 1st of each year. It becomes effective in November, and the governor signed it in May. The next one is House Bill 1397. And that requires that curriculum may be taught as a standalone unit or integrated into other courses, which I've talked to you about this before, that we study the events of the civil rights movement from 1954 through 68. This goes into effect in November, after school has already started, and the governor signed it in May. This one we've talked about. It permits a school district to issue an alternate diploma to a student who meets the definition with the most significant cognitive disabilities. They take the OAP assessment, the Oklahoma Alternate Assessment Program, so they can't get a standard certificate if they don't take standardized tests. This will happen this year at graduation, so it starts this year, and it has been signed by the governor. This one, this is a good one. This is one that we're really happy about. It provides flexibility for when our new employees have to go through the yearly training. And if you'll remember, when you all approved the calendar, you created a day, a professional development day, just for state required reporting. And our employees will have to have 150 hours every 5 years. And the first year, there are some specifics that they need to have, and you can see those listed there. That goes into effect 23-24, which is this school year, and we've already done our training. So if we were to get a new employee at this point, there we go. So the governor signed it into law. Now, on the contracts tonight, there is the software for our state reporting is GCN, and that's how we do our state reporting, and it tracks it and keeps it track of which employee has had which training. So that is on the consent agenda tonight. Another one that the governor signed into law was that we have to post on our website a copy of any bond proposal, the project to be funded, a description of each project, and the estimated costs 30 days before any bond election, and that's effective in November. The next one is House Bill 2265. It allows a school district to offer students in grades 11 and 12 an elective course in law enforcement. And that is effective 11/1. So we'll see about that. House Bill 2314, we've talked about this one for a couple of years. It has never gone through, but now it finally has been signed. It deletes the requirement limiting student transportation within the boundaries of the school district. So if we wanted to, if you all approved, we could pick someone up outside of our school district. Then House Bill 2678 prohibits a person from being appointed to serve on the State Board of Education if you serve on the Board of Education as a school district that is supervised by the state board. So that means that none of you can serve on the State Board of Education. That was signed by the governor. Senate Bill 147 allows a school district to stock glucagon and requires a written consent and waiver of liability for the Diabetes Management Act. Jennifer, I was going to talk to you about this today, but we never did get a chance. This bill will allow a licensed physician to write a prescription for glucagon to a school district. So if we need it for one of our diabetic students, we would have it here in the district. And we will learn more about that. And then Senate Bill 467, we talked about it before, it creates the Interstate Teacher Mobility Compact Act to allow for even easier reciprocity with all 50 states, and we already have that. Now, there are also a couple of bills that have to do with education that have been vetoed by the governor. So House Bill 2819 was vetoed. It would have extended the Oklahoma Advisory Council on Indian Education until 2025 in accordance with the Oklahoma Sunset Law. So the governor's response was he aims to decrease government by sunsetting boards, commissions, and councils that are no longer necessary or duplicative. He believes that the area addressed by this council are adequately addressed by the SDE, and the legislature can override with a 2/3 vote. He also vetoed Senate Bill 429, and this one was surprising to all of us. It protects the right of any students to wear tribal regalia at any of our functions, so long as it doesn't cause distraction or a safety issue or interfere with the learning environment if worn during a specific activity. And the governor's response is, he stated that he vetoed because he did not want to usurp local control. And of all the legislators, all the House legislators, all of the Senate, there was one person that had voted no. So there's a lot of talk that this veto could be overridden. So I'll keep you informed of that. Any questions about legislative update and where we are? Sounds like we're gonna learn more after the 8:30 meeting, if it could last all morning tomorrow, so.
And I told you this, we have meetings with leadership on Wednesday at 10 and 2:30.
Great, so Adam and I are going to the Capitol on Wednesday, and we'll have a legislative update at COSA at 9, and then we have meetings at 10 and 10:30. Awesome. Maybe we'll know some more. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shelley. And we'll move on to item number 5. A motion is required for the approval of the consent agenda as printed or as amended. Board members may however call for a separate vote on any or all items listed on the consent agenda. Looks like we've got 4 items. The agenda with commentary, minutes from the April 18th regular board meeting. I thought that was April 17th. Was that an April 17th meeting?
Don't know, I'll look at my calendar right quick.
Does that matter? Minutes from the April 17th meeting, and contracts and agreements under 10,000 and out-of-state travel requests. I'd entertain a motion to discuss.
So moved.
Moved to vote by Dawn, seconded by Judy. Call for the vote.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye. Item number 6, action items. The first one is to consider and take action on the following district financial reports. And it looks like we have several A through M. Are there any
It was a
of
good
those?
question, it was a good meeting. Robin was, I won't say.
Say wait.
We had a good discussion, so.
Always away.
I move for approval.
All right, Dawn has moved for approval for item 1. And second on that?
I'll second.
And second by Nancy. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mrs. Troop? Mrs. Zimmershed?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Item number 2 is a consideration and take action on making changes to the employee travel meal per diem rate as outlined in board policy.
Our board policy is in regard to our travel meals says, basically, the per diem rate is set by the board. That's all it says. The amounts aren't in policy. And the per diem rates have not changed in 30 years. So we are proposing that a one-day trip without an overnight stay would be limited to $20. Currently, it's $10, and you can't even eat at the gas station for $10. And so if our activity bus drivers take somebody from out of town, usually they have breakfast and lunch, so that would increase, that by 100%. Many trainings require a lunch and a breakfast. Formerly, our in-state with overnight stay was $35. And if you have 3 meals, that's not much more than $10 a meal. So what we did, we looked at the government rates for Oklahoma, and we needed to be at $50 to be in line with the government rate. Actually, the government rate is $59. A lot of schools pay only a percentage on the first day of travel and the last day of travel, because usually they'll eat 3 meals on the travel day, but this would just make it clean. That way we wouldn't have to do a percentage. And then we weren't horribly out of line with out of state, with overnight stay. That was previously a $70 per diem. We're recommending that change to $75 based on California, Florida, Nevada, Oklahoma, Texas, and Washington DC travel. The only state that has travel, the reimbursement rate is higher. It's not a state, it's just Washington DC, the District of Columbia is $79. So that's a proposal to begin July 1.
Entertain a motion.
It's
It's
80.
I've got a question on it. What's the total cost, estimated cost impact?
Wait, just 1 second, it says $80 on that.
Yeah.
Huh? No, I mean total for everything for the year.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yes.
It's supposed to be 75.
Yeah, it should be 75.
Okay, but I still got my question.
All right, Robin has a question.
The total estimated cost increase for the year from what we're paying right now.
The 1-day trip is 100% increase.
No,
and that's probably.
Are we talking
right.
$10,000 or $50,000?
What would you guess, Brenda?
Yes.
I would only 50,000. I would say probably 20 to 25,000. A lot of it is title money. So it's really not costing the district, it's costing, the fees come from the federal program dollars. But we didn't do a cost analysis on it.
So we don't know what the total cost increase is.
No, I was just.
Well, we did talk to our, we talked in superintendent's cabinet, and we will talk to our principals tomorrow. They will have to figure those costs in for their professional development, so they may not get to send as many people with additional costs to the per diem, so. But right now, it just doesn't cover meals.
Meals, it's all covered under a specific budget, like curriculum budget, this is on current budgets, the budgets won't go up, so they'll have to factor these increases in with the budgets, and it's federal program dollars, instructional dollars, library budgets, different budgets will cover the cost of this.
So if the budget doesn't go up, they'll have to take fewer people?
Correct.
Okay. We'll still have.
Or reorganize their budget,
Yeah.
however they would want it. If they want to send 5 people and they can afford it, they may just have to take from a different area, if that's what they decide to do with their budget. Is that what I'm hearing?
We'll have to budget the increased cost in.
But we really don't know whether their budget will go up or not yet.
No, I'm just saying.
It's
if they
already
have to
set, it's already
reorganize-
set for next year's budget.
Right, I'm just saying that they would have to reorganize this one.
They would have to decide their priorities.
Second.
Dawn made a motion, Nancy second. Any more discussion or questions? Call for vote. Mrs. Warren? Aye.
Mr. Tree? Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. Mr. Newsom? Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Number 3, vote to approve or disapprove the resolution for schools and libraries universal services E-rate for 2023 school year. 23-24 school year.
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by Dawn, seconded by Judy. Any discussion or questions? Call for vote.
Mrs. Tree?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye. Consider and take action on an application for participation in the 2023 summer food service program for children.
We need to prove that we have these kids.
Yeah, it's a pretty important one. I'll entertain a motion.
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, that was your motion? Dawn made a motion and a very,
I'll second.
and Nancy second. Any discussion or question? Call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mrs. Rowley? Aye.
And then number 5, it looks like we have some contracts and agreements. Consider and take action on the following contracts and agreements, A through M, and we'll go through these one at a time. Do we vote on the one?
No.
Okay.
But
Unless we need to do this
different
way.
directors will provide the commentary if you want commentary. No? Okay.
No discussion on any of them?
Unless Robin has a question on one.
Yeah, first one, I assume we got bids on these, Adam?
Okay, he's referring to,
Anderson
Mr.
Park.
Yes, sir. Yep, we send it out to every local flooring company.
And I assume Anderson was the low bidder.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Do we need to read these details?
Just as,
Just the bold. Okay. B, consider an agreement with Brandy Odd in, that's a long master.
She's a SLP. Mhm.
To provide speech therapy services. This is, I do have a question about this one. Is this in addition to the one that we just did, a couple meetings ago?
I believe she has two. One is for next school year and one is just for ESY this summer, for her to provide supervision for an SLPA providing services.
And that one's on the consent agenda. Okay. It is just for summer, and she's supervising.
C is consider a quote from Clark Contracting LLC for the demolition and cleanup of property. D, consider an agreement with EduSkills LLC for English language learners, ELL support services. E, consider an agreement with Forte International Exchange Association, FIEA, for 23-24 academic year foreign exchange student. F, consider a ratification of an agreement with Galaxy Business Equipment Incorporated. G, an agreement.
Back to F, Brenda, how does this compare to this year's prices?
It's the same exact price.
Okay.
Watch the increase on that. G, consider an agreement with Gallup Incorporated. H, consider ratification of an agreement with Kyler Construction Group Incorporated for 2021 bond projects.
Didn't we just approve some of these
Yes.
last month? Didn't we approve?
That was with WTA.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's the two, is the architect.
This month is the GCs.
Okay.
Is this
No,
just to
minimum
make,
salary's on here.
is this just to make the law
Yes. Yep.
on the existing projects that have already been assigned?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, any further questions on H? I, consider an agreement with Precision Testing Laboratories Incorporated. J, consider the construction manager recommendations report from Rick Scott Construction Incorporated for the baseball renovations project. K.
Do you want to talk about that one?
What was the bid on that one? The bond issue, I mean.
How much was in the bond, like the bond funds, or what the bid was?
Yes, the bond.
Bond funds was 2.1. So with inflationary costs, that will.
So the 2.4, because this was the one that we rebid for items from about a $200,000 savings.
Yes, yeah. So if we chose to go 2.4 million, that would be doing all those other alternates that we had identified, like a sign on Fifth Street, adding a roof to the locker room that matches the roof line of the new covered stadium, some utility movements, extending the pavilion all the way down first base instead of halfway down first baseline. So there's just a few alternates. So if we take the lowest price possible, it'd be 2.2 million.
So I'm confused, but they're still wanting us to approve the GMP for 2.4?
No, you
No,
can,
no.
Or is it 2.2?
We can do the two.
you can do 2.4 if you want. We'll have to reallocate and move things around some, so. But the board has the
All the
option.
things we talked about in it.
Yes, in the meeting, we talked about doing 2.2.
Yeah.
So the GMP is gonna be 2.2.
2.282955 dollars. You know, that's pretty fast. I can't talk.
Yeah, that one.
I'm tired. All right.
It'll be $218,955.85.
Thank you, yes. That number.
Any other further discussion or questions? All right, moving on to K, consider ratification ratification of agreement with Rick Scott Construction PC LLC for 2021 bond projects. L, consider and take action on the Roosevelt Elementary re-roof project.
That was originally budgeted at $750,000, so we did have.
Now it's $496,482.
We were able to do some great stuff there with the architects and construction managers to save.
Go back to Jay just a minute. Shouldn't we also say, second to the last line, to bring instead of the price of the project to the GMP to 2.2? But that's really what we're doing.
Does that not say bring the price?
Of the project.
Price of the project.
But also in the first sentence says, discussion and action to approve the baseball bond project GMP with Rick Scott.
That's right. That is part of the GMP.
They presented the GMP of 2.4 million to us and said this was the total project with the
And I
alternates.
agree with what we're doing.
So if this board has that option to accept or reject the alternates as presented in their GMP. There was 8 alternates identified. And if we take the alternates that save us money and choose not to do the alternates that cost us money, it would bring the total price to 2.2 million.
But shouldn't we say to bring instead of the price, to bring the GMP to 2.2?
You can change it.
Sure.
I mean,
It's all the same.
Okay.
Put that in the minutes.
If it makes you feel better, I think we should give it.
You should change
Okay.
the minutes to reflect that change. Any other further questions or discussion on J, K, or L? Alright, N is I consider a ratification to an agreement with Monroe Talley Architects for 2021 bond projects. And I know that we did one last month, so this one.
And I'm sorry, you were right. The winter tie last month was for if we run into an issue that fell outside of the bond.
Oh, that's correct.
That's,
We had
you
other
know,
projects.
if we had, like the East Tunnel last year that had a wall that had a hole in it, we needed an architect.
This is for the specific.
This is for the bond projects. We have an agreement with them, but you have to re-ratify it each year, because you can only enter into one year contract.
That's correct. I remember that now.
Sorry, I stand corrected.
I'm sorry, I thought out of order. I don't remember, has anyone made a motion on this yet?
I did.
Don did, and I seconded.
Alright,
A through M.
Dawn's made a motion to consider a vote for approval for A through M, and Nancy has seconded. Any other further discussion or questions? Call for the vote.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. Mrs. Drew? Aye. Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Item 6, motion and vote to convene an executive session for the following purposes: to discuss the possible termination, resignation, and employment of personnel may attach detailed personnel report, to discuss confidential conversations with the board's attorney concerning any claims of litigation. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Dawn, second by Nancy, call for the vote.
Mrs. Drew? Aye. Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye.
Yes.
Oh, wait on the outside. Session, recital by the president, that minutes of the executive session were kept by the board's minute clerk and will remain confidential. Now, I would like to consider and take action on recommendations for termination, reassignment, resignation, and employment of personnel. Nancy has made a motion, I'll take a second.
Second.
Second by Robin Riley. Any discussion or questions? Call for the vote, please.
Mrs. Rowland?
Aye.
Mr. Riley?
Aye.
Mr. Newsom?
Aye.
Mrs. Zimmershed? Aye. Mrs. Drew?
New business tonight. All right, we'll adjourn the motion.
So moved.
Then I will say.